Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of Icon Elevate. Wonderful to have Apryl Chelin join me today. Apryl is, of course, Clinical Research Coordinator Team Lead at our Icon Cancer Centre at Wesley. So Apryl, welcome and thanks for joining us on Icon Elevate.
Thanks, Mark.
Great to see you. And everyone's going to be really keen to hear about your career thus far, and I know you've transitioned from nursing into the research team at the Wesley some time ago. It'd be really interesting if you could tell us about that change in your career path and what inspired the move.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. I think my interest in cancer care came from a placement that I did while I studied over at the Mater. So it was pretty instant, and I knew that it was where I wanted to be when I had finished. So once I had finished and I got in with Icon, my passion grew quite quickly. And I think looking after people in the hardest time of their lives is really what drove me to change. And I guess I was information hungry. I really wanted to know, the ins and outs of why we did what we did. And I really wanted to be part of the changing landscape of cancer treatment. So that's really what drove me and inspired me to make the change.
Yeah, wow. And how's it gone thus far? Are you enjoying it?
I am, yeah. It's great. I get to learn a whole heap every day, and I think being able to see the changes in real time, going to conferences and things like that, and seeing what my work on the ground is transforming to in data is just it's really good. It's really good.
Yeah, so now you're in a leadership role, Apryl. So I want to hear about next. So you made the decision, transition from nursing into research. Now you're in a leadership role. Talk about how that team lead role has evolved in the research team, and what are some of the highlights for you thus far?
I think from nursing to research was a huge jump, and it took me a little while to kind of find my feet and work out all the intricacies of clinical trials, and the world of clinical trials is so big. So really working my way and navigating through that was hard, but I think the mentors that I had around me, to pep me up every day and to kind of push me along was really, really good, and I'm so appreciative of that. And then I went away for a year to have my baby, came back, and that saw a whole massive restructure and the introduction of Sophie. So I think that was another big learning curve when Icon research really evolved. And so I think working alongside Sophie so closely for a couple of months before I jumped into a leadership position was really, really beneficial. And so I guess from there I went to Chermside and I rebuilt and stabilised Chermside as a research clinic, and we were doing really well in recruiting. And then once I had finished, I came back over to Wesley where I have restarted again. So I guess the highlights for me, aside from the promotions and the chance to kind of really culture a team and rebuild my teams, and I handpicked them myself. So that was really a highlight for me, was to be able to, culture those teams the way I thought, that research teams should look like. I think, as I mentioned before, going and doing conferences and seeing the real world data transforming into the clinical trial space is really, really, really highlight for me.
So Apryl, you went away on maternity leave. You've come back and you're into a leadership role. What's the leadership learning for Apryl Chelin that you'd share with the teams about, I guess, coming into a leadership role, finding your feet? What's the biggest thing you learnt?
I think for me, taking it slow and taking one step at a time. So really learning what my team do and all the different facets of my team, and kind of taking them all on board. And then, you can't ask someone to do something if you don't know what you're doing yourself. So it was really important for me to come in and know the team inside and out and know the roles of my team members to really be able to then lead them through all aspects of our role.
Yeah, great stuff. Now, your role is very demanding. I also know you have a very demanding role at home. I think your daughter is 2 years old, is that right?
She is, yeah.
2 years old. So, busy leadership role, raising a 2-year-old daughter, and I had a 2-year-old daughter once, so I maybe understand some of it. What do you do to relax and recharge outside of work, apart from be with your 2-year-old daughter?
Well, nothing really. I don't do anything outside of that really, but I think for our little family, it's really important to get away and recharge, and little beach trips and getaways is what makes the cogs tick.
Yeah, exactly. Now, let's think about the future. What's your hope for how we might continue to advance cancer research at Icon? What does it look like for us in the next few years?
Yeah, so I think we have just started to kind of tailor our centres a bit differently and really focus on the tumour streams that we have in our certain centres that we do well in, and kind of take that and run. So I think continuing to establish that key tumour stream research program is where we're heading. And then I think further to that is really dipping our toes into precision medicine. It's really important, and will be great for our doctors and Icon as a group to be known as the leading provider for precision medicine for our patients.
Yeah, great stuff. Really exciting future. Got a few what I call rapid fire questions for you, April. I'm a prolific reader, love reading books, and I love hearing recommendations for books. What does Apryl Chelin recommend that I read?
I haven't read this myself, Mark, but I think I've been given many recommendations on when breath becomes air. The medical book of the neuroscientist.
Yeah, I've heard about it. I think I bought a copy for my wife. I must read it. Well, let's read it, okay? Compare notes.
Perfect.
All right, good one. Who's inspired Apryl Chelin to be her best across your life, in any aspect of your life?
So I thought about this a lot, and I don't think there's any one person that I can say from the start to finish that's inspired me. But I think, as I mentioned, the early part of my career, I was really learning and getting on my feet when I made the transition. So the people who kind of led me through that time and the superiors that I had around me really inspired me to be where I am today, and they inspire me to do well.
Yeah, that's a great answer, isn't it? And I think it's really important for our team that people around you who can inspire you. I think sometimes we think, oh, who's the great sporting star? Who's the musician or the author or someone famous who's inspired us? But really, we can find inspiration in our everyday lives. Absolutely. No, it's a great point. Now, April, this question is going to date you a little bit, as it has from some of my other guests, maybe not as much for you, but the first music album you ever bought?
This is going to prove how young I really am, but it would have to be a So Fresh CD that we used to go to Saturday and buy, the latest hits of the summer, or I think it'd have to be a So Fresh.
And CD, do you know what vinyl or a cassette is?
My dad has vinyls, but no, I personally don't have any vinyls, but they are coming back in.
Yeah, it's amazing. They are coming back in a big way. But anyway, all right, a couple of spontaneous questions to finish off with. You've talked about you and your little family. Where do you like to go for your holidays?
My favourite spot still is Noosa. We love to get away to Noosa, and that's kind of where we go to recharge.
Yeah, it is a great place. I love Noosa too. All right, dream holiday destination. Where do you want to take your daughter one day?
I don't know whether I'd take my daughter or leave her here, but I think New York is probably on my bucket list to be almost, if not number one.
Yeah, wow, awesome, great stuff. April, thank you so much for joining us today on Icon Elevate. It's absolutely wonderful to see a young person like yourself who's so passionate about your role. And also, you know, you don't just start a role and that's what it is. You know, it changes over time. And I think you are a great example of someone who's joined Icon and role just continues to transition, and now you're in a leadership role. And what does the future look like? It's incredibly exciting. So that's my last point. What would you say to everyone who's watching? 3,000 Icon team members around the world. What's the key to enjoying and loving your work?
I think just remember that the patients need you. I think it's really important to come in every day and leave everything else behind, because the person that's standing or sitting in front of you is going through the most vulnerable, toughest time of their life, and you're their first face. So I think it's really important to keep that in the back of your mind, that it doesn't matter what's going on around you, you need to be there for your patients.
Absolutely. Great answer, Apryl. Apryl, thank you so much for joining us on Icon Elevate. Can't wait for everyone to hear your story. Make sure you go off and have a great day, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Mark.